Hello folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. Today we will continue our lab, the transformers. This is the 23rd video. Okay, we have discussed before in the previous video that we have already we have been talking about the Squid and the Squid proxy and the SquidGuard about now this is the fourth part. Okay, the previous videos we were talking about installing the Squid proxy and then putting some blocking rules, simple blocking rules on the Squid proxy, and then we installed the SquidGuard, which is more advanced, contains more advanced web filtering options, and we begin creating a list of websites to be blocked. This is called blacklist or target category block list. Okay, and then we also got more advanced features from the SquidGuard, which is block by category. For example, if you need to block all the porn category, for example, or alcoholic category, you go to a website, which URL I have put in the documentation, which is in a Drive Google link under the description of the video. You will download a blacklist from a URL and then activate an option in the SquidGuard so you can enable blocking by category. We can say this is a predefined categories, contains most of the websites for most of the blocked website or blacklist, most of the blocked blacklist websites, for example for porn, for alcohol, for news, for whatsoever, any type of blocking you need. It based by category, maybe for example like news, like if you want to block CNN, for example, news, or you want to block social media like Facebook, and so all of these are predefined categories. You can block with them. And then we say that we have some problems with the Squid proxy. As I said before, there is a problem with the transparent proxy option. It's called transparent HTTP proxy. This option, when used with the HTTP SSL inspection, most of the websites that work with HTTPS will not be displayed. As I said before, the solving for this problem is to check out the transparent, or don't use the option transparent HTTP proxy. As I said before, this is an option that if you have a client and wants to go to the internet, normally if you have a proxy server, you need to go to the setting of each browser and put the proxy IP and the proxy port so the user can go to the internet. But when using the transparent option, transparent HTTP proxy, you don't have to do this, it will be done automatically. So as I said before, we will disable this option because of its problem with passing HTTPS websites. So we will disable this option and put the proxy setting manually in every browser for every client. Okay, so this can be done as we said before, it can be done through the group policy. We will discuss in this video how to make a group policy to push the proxy setting, the IP and the port. And also we have discussed in the previous video how we can integrate the Squid proxy and the SquidGuard to use the Active Directory LDAP authentication, which means that we can block certain websites and certain categories to a group in Active Directory or to a user in Active Directory. In the previous videos we have worked with the Squid proxy and the SquidGuard. In general, it wasn't integrated with the Active Directory, so when we are blocking or making a category block or website block, it's blocked on all of the users. So to be more specific and to have more than one list a blocking list for different groups of Active Directory. For example, you need the accounting team not to access the social media, and also you need the front office team not to access the news, for example, and you need the GM and the top level management to have more access to more websites. And for example, you need the IT to have access to all of the websites. All of this we have discussed in the previous video. So today in this video we will continue the integration, working with the integration of the Active Directory with the SquidGuard and the Squid proxy, and how to set up a group policy to push the proxy setting to all of the browsers or for the users on our Active Directory domain. And as I said before, we have to make a group policy. This will work. First we are discussing how to make it on the Internet Explorer, and then we have a couple of group policies to work with the Firefox browser and working with the Chrome browser. But mainly we'll first work with the Internet Explorer, and we will see what problems we will encounter, because there was a problem. We'll see how it is solved. And who have seen my first videos for creating the transformers domain, I have already said that I have a group of group policies or ADMX files for most of the used group policies for third party. For example, I have the group policy for Firefox, and the group policy for the Chrome, and the group policy for the Office 2013. This is all. These group policies are not in the group policies of Windows by default. You need to download these group policies and added it to the Windows group policy container. And also, to, as I said before, we have already created a central group policy location. For more info, please refer to my first or second video for how to create what is the meaning of group policy central location. And also I have all of the group policies for the Firefox and the Chrome and most of and the Office 2013. All of this are in the Google Drive link under the video description. So let's begin with making the group policy for Internet Explorer to push the proxy setting. So here I am powering on the firewall. And then we will power on the first domain controller. I will use the first domain controller for accessing the, or to be first to create the group policies, okay, for the for pushing the proxy setting, and for testing any changes we do in the Pfsense Firewall, for example blocking rules or something. And after that we will use not only the domain controller, we will have another PC in the domain, which is HP8100 EPC bot1. This will be our client or PC client in the domain. We will check our blocking policies and Active Directory integration with the Squid proxy and SquidGuard through this client. So we'll test it on two things: first on the domain controller and on a client. So here we'll open the console, and as I said before, this console, if someone returns to my first videos in this lab, this is a console that contains all of the used tools, Active Directory tools we have, all in one place, so you don't have to open the console for the HCP and the console for DNS and the console for group policy. You can make a custom console and put all of them in it. Please return to my previous videos to see how this is done. So here we will go and make a group policy, or edit a group policy to push the proxy setting for the Squid proxy, which is installed on our, this is an add-on on the Pfsense Firewall. So here we can see that we have to go to administrative tools and user configuration, policy, Windows setting. Here is the first trick. This setting that I got it from the internet, and actually it was for an old version of group policy. So the location of this setting has been changed. It will be under the preferences. There is nothing called under Windows setting called internet maintenance. It has been moved to preferences. We will see where it is transferred. This is because it was an old document or old steps, let's say, not old step, old article on how to add proxy setting to Internet Explorer. So this setting is not there anymore. It is under preferences. I have discovered it, or I have figured it out. Okay, it is under preferences and then internet options. You will see that in a moment. And as I said before, there is a group policy to put the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer, and then there is another group policy to add the proxy setting for the Firefox and another one for the Chrome. But the same concept is done on all of the browsers, the same concept, or the same options, but in different names, of course. But here you will go to the Windows setting, but here I thought it was under the Windows setting Internet Explorer, but this was not the case. It is under preferences. Let me pass all of this. This was troubleshooting, or let's say discovering. Here we will go more. So here it is under not Windows setting, it is under control panel setting, and there it goes. It is in internet setting. So take a note that when we do this, we will do it on Internet Explorer 10, and here it is. Here the problem arises. Actually, the setting was not implemented in total. Some settings are done and the other was not. We will see that when we in the video in a couple of minutes. We will see that the setting was not done completely. There is a problem with this group policy. We will see that what happened exactly and how I discovered it, or how I troubleshoot it. Okay, here is two documents. I have also put in the Google Drive link under the video description. This is the one for how to set the proxy setting for the Internet Explorer, and then this is for the Firefox. If you want more, you can go and for example, there is one also for the Google Chrome. You can Google it, but this is the main two, or we can discuss it on the Internet Explorer, just to demonstrate how to after disabling transparent HTTP proxy option in the Squid proxy in the Pfsense Firewall, how we can push with the group policy the proxy IP and the Squid proxy IP and port through a group policy for the Internet Explorer. The same will be done for the Firefox and any other browser. So here I am trying to check and see what will be done after that. And also we need to do something after putting the proxy setting to the Internet Explorer 10 or the Internet Explorer. We need to make another activate another group policy setting to prevent the user from changing the proxy setting, so he don't have to go to the Internet Explorer and then open the proxy and uncheck the proxy. We will prevent the user from doing this. And as I said before, there is a critical issue with we can have stop here. There is a critical issue with the Squid proxy. If the user doesn't have the setting of the proxy or the Squid proxy and the port, he can access the internet. Let's say normally if the user doesn't have the proxy, there is a proxy server and there is an IP and the port, and the user doesn't have these setting, he will not be able to access the internet. But this is a problem with the Squid, or this is a I see it as a defect or something, not good or not best practice, or not, it's not also should be in a proxy server. If the user doesn't have the proxy, the SquidGuard, the Squid proxy, the port and IP, he can access the internet. Normally, if the user doesn't have it, he will not access. So this can be fixed by doing some firewall rules on the Squid proxy to solve this issue. I mean, when the user doesn't have a SquidGuard proxy IP and port, he can access the internet. This can be fixed by some firewall rules done through the Pfsense. But normally, as I said before, if the user doesn't have the proxy server IP and port, he will not access the internet. On the Squid proxy, on the Pfsense firewall, this is not the issue. The user can access the internet even though he doesn't have the proxy setting put on his browser, and after disabling the transparent HTTP proxy setting. This is a very big defect. I see it from my point of view. So here we will go to the group policy and put the IP of the server and the IP of the Squid proxy and the port. So here we can see that we will go to the user configuration. I was trying to see if there is any other setting I am missing, but at the end it will work from this. Okay, let's go here. We'll go to the control panel and then internet options, right click and view Internet Explorer 10. Here we will see issue when implementing this policy. Here we will go to the connections and LAN setting, and then we will check the proxy. We will put the IP of the firewall, which is 210, and the port of the proxy, which is 3128. This is the IP of this is the port of the proxy port, and the IP of the proxy server, which is the same for the firewall. The firewall will act as a proxy and a firewall, which is the IP is 192.168.2.10. So here we have put the proxy setting. We need to activate an option in the group policy to prevent the user from changing these settings. So here I am trying to test, but actually, as I said before, if I don't have the proxy setting on my browser, I can still access the internet. So you go to the Squid proxy server. Just checking the IP, the port is correct, so I can put it in the setting. So here we will go to the computer setting under Windows Components, and then in the Internet Control panel in the security page we will disable the connection tab. Connection tab, this is the tab in the Internet Explorer or in the Internet options which contains the proxy setting. So we will disable this. This will make the tab for the connections in the Internet options in the Internet Explorer browser to disappear, so the user doesn't have any access or doesn't have any way to change the proxy, not changing even to get to the connection tab. It will be disappeared, which contains, as I said before, connections tab contain the proxy setting. So we will make it vanish or make it disappear, so the user doesn't have any way to change his proxy setting. Here I have some in the proxy. I need to put both of my domain controllers to be unrestricted IPs. I mean, they have full access to internet with all things open for them, so I am putting them in the unrestricted IPs. You can also put any servers you need in your domain or your domain. For example, have some servers you need access to the internet without any restrictions. So this is done by this way. We will go to the ACL and put in the unrestricted IPs the IP of both, or as you need you can put the IP address and then after that the subnet mask, which is done in this way. /24 means it is 255.255.255.0. You don't have to have spaces, you need to put it without spaces. I think it will accept it without subnet mask. So here I have allowed. You can allow entire subnet. In the allowed subnets you can put your entire subnet if you need all of the but this is not practical. I need only some IPs, not to have any restriction in access the internet. Here we can see that the description says it will not filter out by other access control directive sets in this page. He will give them access without any restrictions. I mean, any block policies or anything will not be applied to them. Here this is unrestricted IP. I think it will access without any blocking or any block policies applied to them. So here we go to the SquidGuard. So here we have this group policy done in the previous video for the advanced internet group to block certain categories for them. Here is some notes I took. So here we will let's see what will be done here. As I said before, we will disable the connection tabs, or make the connection tab disappear in the Internet Explorer internet options, so the user can't change the proxy setting. Here we have a little bit of a note. We can see here that there is a orange arrow. If you see my previous videos or the first videos I have in this lab, we have make a DHCP failover, which means that there is two DHCP servers. If one of them fails, the other will give IP addresses. So this means that the other DHCP server is not available. Actually, I didn't power on the second domain controller, so this means that he is working as a standby, or this is the other one that works until the other DHCP server is online again. And I said before, we make it 50% of the IPs to be issued. I mean, if they are both online, every server will give half of the IP addresses to the clients. Okay, but as it is now down, so he will give all of the IP addresses to the clients. But if both DHCP servers are online, then every one of them will give 50% only of the address pool to the clients. Okay, here we will do another thing to make the client, or to make sure that our PC in the domain access the domain without any problems. We need to make sure that the MAC address for this PC, okay, for the MAC address for the network card for this PC should be in the enabled allowed filter in the DHCP. As I said before, this is a security measure. So if you have anyone, for example a guest coming from outside, and he's for example hooked up the cable from your office to his laptop, he will not be able to access anything on the domain or take an IP address until this IP address is in the allowed MAC filter. Okay, let's say that here you are making sure that the router setting is in the DHCP, so the client can access the internet. This is done also in the previous video. The router or the firewall is put manually in the setting for both domain controllers. As for the clients, it will be delivered by the DHCP, so all of the clients and server can access the internet. So here we want to test the block policy that we have done. We will see one of the advanced internet advanced members which is BISC transformer. This is one of our users in the Internet Advanced group, and you will see or test the block policy that we have done in the previous video on the SquidGuard to see if it will be applied or not after putting or after pushing the proxy server IP and setting through the group policy that we have done in a couple of seconds ago. Here I'm just I have also in my previous videos I have done something that I have some users that access certain computers, so I am just taking off this option. This is, I will get a little bit further. Okay, we can see here, for example, this user, we can see from the account, okay, and then from the login to here we can see that this user is allowed to access this computer. Okay, so I need him to access, it was on the following computers, I need him to access, this user to access all the computers. This is an option, so you can restrict some users to access certain computers. For example, you need the accounting team to access only the accounting PCs. This can be done through this step. So here I'm just resetting the password, and let's see if our group policy for the proxy setting is applied. And then I am resetting this user password with a password that I know. So after that we will see if the group policy for the proxy setting is applied to this user, and we can test the block websites rule that we have done on the SquidGuard in the previous video for the Internet Advanced users. Okay, here I'm just seeing that first of all I need to check that this client can access the internet. From what I see here, that the client can't access the internet. Still there is a yellow triangle. That means that there is a problem with accessing the internet. So I need to make sure that this client took an IP address from the DHCP, and that the router or the firewall is or the setting for the gateway, which is the firewall, is delivered to this client in the setting of the network connection. We will see that from the Ethernet control panel network setting, and then we can see here the connection details. We can see that the client didn't get an IP address, so we have to go to the DHCP. As I said before, the client will not take an IP address if not the MAC address for the network card is put in the allowed filters in the DHCP. So also there is something I can tell you from what is done every time you why this client didn't take an IP address, because he wasn't in the allowed filter in the DHCP. There is another issue when working with the Hyper-V. Every time a virtual machine is booted up, the MAC address changes. This is from in the Hyper-V solution environment. Okay, so I think the same is done in the VMware workstation. I didn't test it, but sometimes I think maybe the same apply, because in the Hyper-V every time you boot a virtual machine, the MAC address changed dynamically. Every time you boot or every time you shut down the virtual machine and boot it back, the MAC address change. You can tell the Hyper-V not to change the MAC address, to give it a static MAC address or a fixed MAC address. So I think maybe also this applies to the VM workstation, I don't know, but to make sure if this problem happens with you, so for example if you see a client doesn't take an IP address, you need to make sure that the MAC address for the network card is added to the allowed filter in the DHCP. So if it is added and still the client didn't take an IP address, you need to make sure that the MAC address for the virtual machine wasn't changed dynamically by the VMware workstation software. Okay. So here we have already we will take the MAC address and add it, taking it from where to get the MAC address from the VM setting, and then network card, and then advanced, and then here is the MAC address. You can add it to the MAC address here. There is no you have to put dashes between the numbers or between the sets of numbers and figures, numbers and letters. It's not commas, or you have to be they have to have dashes between the parts of the MAC address, and then you put the name of the PC and then add, and then if you make a restart or just even disable or enable the connection, you will it will get an IP address. So here there is another issue. As you see, I don't have the other domain controller, which is my file server. It is the second domain controller and the file server in the same time. I didn't power it on because I have only limited hardware resources. I have only 4-core CPU, okay, 2 cores, physical cores, and 4 logical cores, and only 8 GB RAM, so I can't power or can't have more than 3 virtual machines working in the same time, because my host will take 1 processor and the 3 other virtual machines will take the rest of the processors. Okay, so here we are logging in with the user, the Internet Advanced user. We will see if the group policy for the proxy is done, and also we will see if the client will take an IP address. Here, note to be taken: when we have 2 DHCPs in action, we have this, we call this DHCP failover. I repeat, the filters is not copied to the second DHCP. I mean the filters, the configuration for the DHCP for the scope and other setting will be transferred to the DHCP or the partner, DHCP partner. It will be transferred, but as for the filters, it will not be copied. You need to every time make the filters in every DHCP. I mean, if you have two DHCPs, and for example you have enabled the first client on the first DHCP in the, for example, in the enable filter or in the allowed filter in the first DHCP, you didn't do this in the second DHCP, it will be blocked. You have to do it twice, first on the first DHCP and the other in the second DHCP. And also from my experience or from this lab, I saw also that even when I put the DNS setting and the router or the gateway on one DHCP, it doesn't transfer, or it not copied to the second DHCP partner or DHCP failover partner. So you need to do the setting or do the configuration setting twice. I think the only thing that was transferred when making the failover was the scope setting I have done. So here we will go to the group policy. Sorry, not the group policy, this is the blocking rule we have done. We have said here that the Internet Advanced group, we will block the news and the porn and social net, all of the social media. So we need to check and see if this is actually blocked for this user or not. This user is a member of the Internet TR Advanced Internet group. Okay, so here for example I will block the social media. As I said before, we need to make sure that default access rule is allow. We need to make sure of this. So here after checking we will click apply. So here I figured out that in the unrestricted IP tab in the Squid proxy I need to put the subnet mask. So I will go back and put in the ACL, I will put the subnet mask for the unrestricted IP addresses. This is the two IPs for my two domain controllers. As I said before, one of them is a file server and the domain controller. So here we can now test. Here we can see now that the client took an IP address and the internet is working, and we will see that we will test now and see if the user can access, for example, we have blocked in this rule, or the rule we have done for the Internet Advanced Active Directory group. We have blocked the porn, the news, the social media. So we'll see if we can access, for example, CNN and Facebook. So I am opening the Internet Explorer and see if we can access the and here have a look. We will not see any problems with the HTTPS websites. As I said before, when disabling the transparent HTTP proxy, you will not have any problem with the HTTPS websites, or even after, as I said before, after disabling the transparent HTTP proxy and enabling also the HTTPS SSL inspection. When we check out this transparent HTTP proxy and put the proxy setting manual in the browser, we will not have any issues with HTTPS websites working on the browser. Here I will try to test and see. For example, let's test the Facebook. As I said before, I have already blocked the Facebook, but we will see that it will pass. Okay, we can see now that before the Facebook have a problem with the HTTPS, it wasn't working. Now we can see that HTTPS is working, and also the website is not blocked, even though I have put it in the block list. So we can check the log and see. Here we don't see it in the Squid. Here we can see the SquidGuard logs. We can see here that it is not blocked. If something is blocked, it will give us which category is blocked from any, and the IP which is blocked on. So here we can see that the Facebook wasn't blocked. So here we need to see a couple of things. We need to see if the blocking website rule is working, the proxy setting is there, and the integration is working between the SquidGuard and the Active Directory. We can see here also from the logs, you can see the logs from two places, from the real time in Squid proxy in the section of SquidGuard log, or from the SquidGuard itself option, and then from the log. We can see here that it is not blocked, so we need to troubleshoot to see if the problem is with the proxy setting, with the blocking rule, or with the firewall itself. We will try the CNN. It's also a blocked group, or we have blocked the news group. So here we can see it is also allowed. As you can see here that the transparent HTTP proxy is not enabled, and we have SSL filtering working. We can see that we didn't have any problems now with the HTTPS after disabling the transparent HTTP proxy. In the previous videos we can see that even though we don't have any blocking rules for Facebook and it is HTTPS, it wasn't working because of the HTTP transparent proxy working, or it is checked. So we have solved the problem for the HTTPS websites, but here we can see that the blocking rule wasn't working. For some reason we need to make sure what is the problem. It is the proxy, or the proxy setting, or the blocking rule, or the integration itself, or any other reason. So I begin inspecting. Let's go a little bit more. Okay, I have already All of this was checking the rules. Okay, so here first of all I thought, or I need to check the proxy setting is there or not, but take note that I have already disabled. First of all, I was checking that the client have the setting of the setting of the gateway. It is already there because he can get to the internet, but I was checking the IP of the client to make sure when I see the log, the SquidGuard log, to know that this is for this user. Now I was making a test. I was allowing the client as a whole in the client source to allow it, or sorry, not to block by Active Directory group, but to block with the IP of the client, just to make sure that the SquidGuard is working, or the SquidGuard rule is working. I thought there was a problem with the integration between the Active Directory and the SquidGuard, so I was trying to see if it will work with the IP address of the client, not with the Active Directory group. Okay. And also we will do a little test. I will open the Firefox and put the proxy manually by my hand. I will put it in the setting of the Firefox. This also can be done through a group policy, but you need first to download the Windows Firefox group policy ADMX files and put it in the group policy container in the domain controller, so you can see the group policy for the Firefox appearing for you. There is a documentation that explains it all, how you can download the Firefox group policy setting and how to add it and how to see it through the group policy or the group management policy console. So here we have done two steps. Here we in the SquidGuard we have make the blocking or the website blocking rule by IP of the client to make sure it is not a problem with the Active Directory integration process. And here we are testing it or another browser to see if it is a problem with the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer. So we are having two directions or two troubleshooting ways. One with the Active Directory integration with the SquidGuard issue. Okay, the Active Directory integration with the SquidGuard issue and the proxy setting issue. So I am testing it on the Firefox. This is for the proxy setting issue, and for the integration, as I said before, I had changed the SquidGuard blocking rule from blocking with Active Directory group to block with the IP of the client. Here we will put I was checking the setting. Here there is something I know, a trick. It says that if the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer is done, or the proxy setting is done through the Internet options in the Internet Explorer, all of the other browsers will take the same setting from the Internet Explorer. This, I think, I am not sure of this, but I read it somewhere, so I was making sure that he is taking the right proxy setting. But actually, in a couple of seconds I will change the browser to make sure that the browser proxy, to make sure that it is not an issue of the proxy setting. Bear with me a couple of seconds, we will see that. So here I was trying to check if the websites that I used on the Internet Explorer is also blocked with the Firefox. I thought it was a browser issue, so we are working on 3 points. It is Active Directory integration issue, or a proxy issue, or a browser issue. Okay, this is the steps. So here I'm trying to see if it is still blocked through the browser. So you can see that the Facebook will work also here on the Firefox, and also it will work, the CNN will work, even though we have a group policy in effect. And also you can see that we have changed the rule to block by IP, not by Active Directory. So still also I can pass, even though I have already changed the block rule from Active Directory group to use Active Directory group, from using Active Directory group to use IP address of the client, and still I can pass. So I thought this was not a problem with the firewall Webfilter rule, or a problem with the Active Directory integration, or the browser. There is another thing, or even the proxy. I thought there is no problem with the proxy, but still we can see here from the log that it was not blocked. Clearly, after taking some thoughts, it is a problem with the SquidGuard. Okay, the rule of the SquidGuard was not working for some reason. Sorry, it's not was a problem with the SquidGuard, it was a problem with the proxy. Okay, we will see that now in a moment. The last thing to do, that I have put the proxy manually. So it was not from a troubleshooting view, it was not from the rule, it was not from the integration, it was not from the proxy. So, but the rule wasn't applied, so this indicates that there is a problem. I thought there was a problem with the SquidGuard because in the log the rule wasn't applied. So I thought there was a problem with the SquidGuard, but after a couple of seconds, when I tried to put the proxy manually, even though, as I said before, we have the group policy in effect to push the proxy setting with the group policy, I have already added also through the SquidGuard, through the Squid proxy, I have already added the Facebook to be blocked. Also, we will see that it will pass also. Here I am changing back the setting on the firewall to work with Active Directory group, not the IP, because I thought the problem was not with the SquidGuard, or I was changing it back to normal. Here we'll change it back. And save. And you need, when you do any change in the SquidGuard, you need to go to the general setting and click apply. So here I am restarting the client. Actually it was confusing because actually you see in the logs that the rule was not applied, and the integration, I didn't know if it's working or not, but you need to make a last step. Let's continue our lab. So here I'm trying to see if the group policy is in effect. We can see that from tools, internet options, we can see that the connection tab doesn't appear. This we have done through the group policy to prevent the users from changing the proxy setting. But here I tried to see if the proxy setting is correct, but this was not feasible. I need to enable or change the group policy to make the connection tab appears again. Here I'm trying to test the Facebook. Again I'm trying to see the blocking rule is in effect, and still it wasn't in effect. And when you go to the logs for the SquidGuard, you can't see any blocking done. Here we check the log, we can see that no blocking is done. So it seems that from the first impression that the rule is the issue, or it's not working. Here we can see also from the log from the proxy, Squid proxy, it is passing, the website is passing. No blocking is taking effect. So here I open the Firefox and put the proxy setting manually to see if the web block rule will work. So we'll go to the options, and then we will go to the proxy setting. I think it is in general at connections, sorry. So here we will go to setting, network setting, and then we will add the proxy manually. I will add it manually. I just began suspecting that the proxy setting was not working, so I put the IP manually, and then 3128, and use this proxy server for all protocols. And then OK. and then I will try to test and see if the blocking rules will work. For example, we have blocking the social media and the CNN or the news, so I will see if it will work or not. Let's continue our lab. So here we will test the rules and see if it is working or not. So here I try to see if the Facebook it is blocked or not. Here we can see now that the rule is in effect. Let's take a note. When this error appears, you know that this error was appearing before because there was a problem when the HTTP transparent proxy option was opened. This error, as I said before, the HTTP transparent proxy option with the SSL inspection was working. This error was appearing. But as I said before, if you have a rule blocking a website that HTTPS, also this error will appear. How can you differentiate between that the error appears from web filter block rule or from the HTTP transparent proxy setting? We have already disabled HTTP proxy setting, so this is error comes from the blocking rule. We will check the log file now for the SquidGuard. We will see that the website or the Facebook is blocked and the blocking rule is in effect. So basically what seems to be the problem here, that the Internet Explorer proxy setting wasn't taking effect. We will see how this is also the problem or how I discovered it. So we can see now that the Facebook is blocked, and we can try the CNN now. It will also be blocked. Okay, here it says you need to accept the certification. Accept. We can see here that the blocking effect here appears clearly, that the blocking effect for the rule that we have done it's in effect here. We can see that CNN is blocked because we have the news bulk or the block rule for the news in effect. For the user, actually we will see that also there is a problem with this block rule, but we'll see that later. Also it is blocked, the BBC is blocked, so the news is blocked as a whole, and the Facebook is blocked because of the social media. So now we can see clearly the problem was from the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer options was not, for some reason I discovered that it was not taking effect, because when we tried from the Firefox the rules was working after putting the proxy setting manually, and we can see clearly also that the problem was the HTTPS websites is solved after disabling the HTTP transparent proxy option. Okay, so here what I have done, I have returned back to the group policy and disable the option for disable connection tab, so I can see when I open the Internet Explorer internet options, I can see the proxy setting, what is there, what is written or what was in the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer options. To see that, I need to enable the connection tab again in the internet options in the Internet Explorer setting. Here I'm just taking off the blacklist from the Squid proxy, just not to conflict with the SquidGuard block rules. Here I was checking again the proxy setting to see if there is a problem. Maybe I have typed the proxy setting not correct, but it was correctly. And it is there. So here the proxy setting was correct. So to make sure that I need, as I said before, I need to disable the setting for disable connection tab in the Internet Explorer. To see the setting by my own eyes, I need to open the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer options to see what is there. Let's pass it a little bit further. I have made a restart. And here I have login with my domain account, domain admin account, to see if I can see the Internet Explorer options, but I think also it's still disabled, or it will not be there. And also I was logging in with my domain account to see if the web block rule for the TR advanced internet group will work on me, as I am not a member of the Internet Advanced group. I am in the Internet Admin Active Directory group, so the rule should not apply to me. But you will see here a big surprise that the rule is applied on me, even though I am not a member of TR underscore advanced internet group. I am from the group of TR internet admin group. So this rule should not apply to me. Take note that the user that I used in the couple of seconds ago, this was a user in the group of TR Advanced Internet, but is a member of TR Advanced Internet group, Active Directory group, but I am a member of TR Internet Admin group. So, as I said before, the rule should not apply. So here I will go to put the setting manually. As I said before, I need to test to see if the block web rule for the TR Advanced Internet group, Active Directory group, will apply to me or not. And I have deleted the setting and will make it back, just to make sure. I was just suspecting that maybe the rule was not correct for any reason, or the group policy was not correct, so I deleted the setting and make it back. And I will, as I said before, disable the connection tab, so to see the setting for the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer option. Here we can see that Windows component internet options. We will disable this setting, so I need to see if the proxy setting is correct in the Internet Explorer. So I need to enable this option back. I will leave the proxy setting, the option for the proxy setting there, but I was enabling the connection tab so I can check to see the proxy setting by myself is put correctly in the, as we can see here, that, as I said before, I am not a member of the TR Advanced Internet. I am from the TR Internet Admin, so this rule should not apply to me, but it was applied. So here there is another problem arising, because Kira Off is not, as I said before, a member of TR Advanced Internet group. It's from the Internet Admin group. As here we can see also that the HTTPS website is working perfectly without any issue. You can see also the CNN is blocked. Still, here we can have a look. Here I am not a member of this group. Okay, the rule is done for the TR Advanced Internet Options, care of, or the domain admin is not a member of this group, Active Directory group, so I should not have this rule applied to me. So here let's go a little bit further. Okay, I have already disabled this option or not configured. So here we can see I am going to Internet Basic. I am taking another user from another different Active Directory group to see if the internet, let's go a little bit further. So I need to show you something here. Okay, here I am a domain admin. Okay, I am here in the TR Internet Admin group, so I should not have the block rule that I have said that it will apply to TR Advanced Internet or Internet Advanced users or members. I should not have this rule applied to me because I am not in this group. I am in this group. Okay, so I have another group called TR Internet Basic. I will take a user from this group and see if the Internet Advanced Webfilter block rule will work on me, and it will also be applied to me. So clearly there is an issue with the integration of the Active Directory with the SquidGuard, and because it's still applying the rule to all or to any user in the Active Directory, not to a specific group that I have said or I had specified in the Webfilter block rule that I need it only to be applied to TR Internet Advanced Active Directory group. So here I am seeing a member of this. I am seeing the Internet Basic. I am seeing, or I am taking a member of this Internet Basic user or group. Here, for example, I will take Atari. Its name is Atari. This user, I will take it and try with it. I will log off and log in from the workstation and see if it will work or not. I will reset the password. Okay, and type it. Okay. Here I am just telling it to log this user to log on all workstations. As I said before, I have done this to limit the users to access not to access all work stations, only to access certain workstations. So here I will log off and log in with another user. Okay, here I have logged in with the user that I had reset. This is the Internet Basic member. Okay, I'm testing to see if the rule will apply. It should not apply. As I said before, we have a Webfilter block rule to be applied to the group of TR Advanced Internet group, not to the Internet Basic group or not to the Internet Admin group. Okay, so clearly there is a problem with the integration of this or integration of the Active Directory with the SquidGuard and Squid proxy, but specifically is with SquidGuard, not the Squid proxy. So we can pause a little bit here. Okay, now we will open the Internet Explorer. Let's bypass it more. So here I will check the proxy setting. When we open tools and then internet options and then connections and then LAN setting, here we can see that the proxy setting is not there. Okay, I think the problem because this is Internet Explorer 11 and the group policy was with Internet Explorer 10. So it wasn't working on Internet Explorer 11, so this was the issue. It wasn't there. So the group policy taken effect for only disappearing or disabling the connection tab, but not to add the proxy setting in the Internet Explorer 11. I think it because it was designed for the Internet Explorer 10 setting, not the 11. Okay, so this was the issue. We can see now, even after putting the proxy setting manually, we will see that the block rule for the TR Advanced Internet Active Directory group will be applied to this user even though he is not a member of the TR Advanced Internet Active Directory group. And I clearly state again that after using the proxy setting manually in the browser, the problem for the HTTPS websites not working disappeared or worked perfectly. The HTTPS websites was working perfectly after not using the transparent HTTP proxy. Here we can see that also still the rule in effect. When you open the CNN, we will get the block rule. We can see that it's not connecting. The block rule is in effect. I thought there was a problem with the SSL. So when I'm importing the proxy, I am trying the Firefox browser to see if I have the same that the block rules will work, and the block rule for the TR Advanced group will work on this user. I'm just trying a different browser to make sure it's not a problem with the Internet Explorer. Okay. Okay. Here I'll try to see if the blocking rules will apply. It is applied, just using different browsers to make sure that it's not the browser issue. Okay, it is blocked. So here, after fixing the problem of the proxy, we have a problem with the integration of the Active Directory with the SquidGuard. So some problems is solved. The HTTPS websites problem is fixed. The proxy setting is fixed. But here the problem is with the Active Directory integration with the SquidGuard, because the rule is applied to all of the users, not to the TR Advanced Internet Active Directory group, which I specify that the web filter rule will work with. We can see YouTube is working, and HTTPS we can see that it is working fine. Can work with other, but I think this is blocked. This is social media, I think. It is blocked because it is social media. Target block. This is the social media that I have done before in the previous videos. So it is clearly appearing after this error that the blocking is still working for all users, not for the Active Directory groups, or what is specified in the web filter rule. So here we can see that I can go to any website. HTTPS we can see. We can see that the Outlook, all of the previous websites that was HTTPS and was not working before, when the transparent HTTP proxy was working, or in effect all of these are working now perfectly. We can see this. Okay, we don't have any problem. So the transparent HTTP proxy doesn't work good with when the HTTPS SSL inspection is working, or in conjunction, or combined with a transparent HTTP proxy. So you need to disable the transparent HTTP proxy and put it on the browser manually or through the group policy. And actually we have tested on the Internet Explorer to put the group policy or to put the proxy setting manually. This can be done through the Firefox, and in the documentation you will see documentation that I will put on a Drive Google link under the description of the video. You will see how to be done the proxy setting through the Firefox, and you can Google the Chrome also, the same concept. So here we have a problem with the Active Directory integration. We'll next video we will try to troubleshoot what is the problem and try to fix it. So until I see you all next video, I like to thank you for viewing.